All right, everybody. So I'm here in one of my favorite places on the planet, right? I'm in Sheboygan. I'm in the Sheboygan Harbor. We're going to troll downriver. I'm going to show them something new. They troll uphill. We're going to troll downhill. And one of the key pieces of this puzzle is this VIP line lock, right? And so what this does is with braided line, especially when you come down and you lock this thing in right here, as your gear is spinning behind it, because I'm going to have a bumper behind here and a pro troll, and that pro troll is going to be spinning just like this, boom, boom, boom. So this allows the V chain to work as a bearing, and it doesn't create line twist up my line. Because if you get line twist up your line, what it does is it weakens your line and it also shortens your depth. So this thing here locks in and allows all your gear behind it to spin. So as I rig the rest of this thing, you're going to see a really cool piece of this puzzle. You're going to see something that's never been done here in the Sheboygan Harbor or out towards the Lake Michigan area itself, and it's going to be cool. And my friends Pat and Jared are going to be pretty excited about this because I think we're going to smash some fish.
Like lengths?
All right, so I just talked to you about the VIP line lock. And so what this does is kind of a sliding apparatus. It's free, and so this comes down and locks into my chain bead swivel, right? And so what I was talking about earlier when I'm talking about the rotating gear behind it, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna snap in one of my cold water strong bumpers, right? And so this bumper is the distance that's between my lead and my flasher. And so what that does is that dictates the amount of roll that the flasher has, right? So if I have 24 inches, it's gonna roll this much, right? If I have 18 inches, it's gonna roll this much. And so depending on the angle of the roll and how much roll you want in it, depending on the fishery, is the length of your bumper. And so I snap on my bumper, so you see I got this here. Next I'm going to come down with a Pro Troll flasher. Now the Pro Troll Pro Chip is the one I use. This is an 11-inch flasher. You can see it has the fin on the back of it, and what this does is it causes this thing to kick, right? Boom. And so as it drops, it goes boom, and it kicks. And so when your bait's behind it, it causes it to pulsate, right? So I'm going to snap my flasher right into this. You snap it in the top side of it, right? So I've got a dual lock snap here on the end of my cold water strong bumper. I'm going to snap this to the top of my Pro Troll, right? So now I have my Pro Troll 11-inch Pro Chip with the fin. I've got an open end down here, and so what do I add next, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a Spinfish. Now this is a Yakima bait lure. This is a Spinfish. This thing's really, really cool, right? This one happens to be called the Mexican hat, right? And what they do is they break open in the middle, and you're allowed to shove bait in these. And you know, we shove a lot of tuna in them back home, anchovies, herring, but you can shove whatever you want inside of them. Sand shrimp, prawns, whatever you want to do, right? And you put it back together. And so you can see I've got this tied. This is a 40-pound leader. This is 28 inches long. This comes to my shoulder. From the top of the lure to my shoulder is 28 inches. So that's where I do it, right? And I got a chain bead at the end because, again, this is spinning. So I'm going to take this, I open this up, I attach this right here, right? And so that's my setup right here. I'm going to put about a 10-ounce lead on this, and we're going to roll this down river. I've got a couple beads behind it, and I've got two 3/0 hooks. You can see they're about, I don't know, inch and a half apart or so, right, behind this bait. And so as this thing goes through the water, what it's doing is it's spinning like a wounded bait fish. And so the Pro Troll allows this thing, as this thing goes and drops, this thing's going to pulsate behind it. And that's what causes those salmon to bite, because what this does, this entire system creates a wounded baitfish profile. So the wounded baitfish profile is what all predatory fish, which is a salmon or whatever you're looking at, to go after and strike. And so we're going to try a couple different colors. This one here happens to be one of my favorites. The Mexican hat is absolutely flawless. Copper, green, chartreuse red. This thing just kills Chinook day in and day out. I've got some tuna, and I'll explain my tuna recipe here in a few minutes, right? It's just tuna and oil, it's canned tuna. It's a very simple recipe that you can put in here, but I'll do an entire video on that here in just a few minutes on how we rig our tuna. So you're gonna see something super cool here in the Sheboygan Harbor that you've never seen before, and we're gonna tear this thing up. Just give me a few minutes, folks, and we'll be right back. All right, so I'm here in the Sheboygan Harbor, and we're doing something that's never been done here. I can guarantee it, right? And so we're running, you know, what we call back home a Pro Troll and spinner setup, our 360 flasher. And so here's my setup from top to bottom of the spinner. Same with the Spinfish, right? Only the difference is the end of the terminal gear is different. And so I have this bead here, and what this does is this protects my end eyelet from my rod. So if somebody rolls all the way up to the end of the rod, it doesn't knock the end eyelet out. I've got a VIP line lock here, and so what this does is this keys in to this chain bead swivel right here. And so as you can see, I've got all this twisting gear behind it. It's gonna be spinning. So as this is spinning, what this does, this keys in right there. If you can see that real close, it locks itself in there. And so it allows all the gear to spin behind it, and it doesn't cause line twist up my line, right? Next, I've got a chain bead swivel to a cold water strong bumper. Now this bumper is 24 inches long. My two favorite bumper lengths are 18 to 24 inches. And what this does is this dictates the amount of loop that this flasher has behind it, right? And so a shorter bumper, flasher's gonna spin faster. Longer bumper, flasher's gonna spin slower. 24 is my most consistent length for the bumper. So I've got a Pro Troll Pro Chip 11-inch flasher with the fin, right? This is key for this because what this does is as this flasher rolls through the water like this, right? When it rolls over and it drops off this side, it drops really fast. So it causes whatever bait I have behind it to pulsate. And salmon are predatory fish, and so when it pulsates like that, it looks like a wounded bait fish, and it causes them to grab it. And so behind my Pro Troll flasher, you can see They come standard with a snap like this. I add this bead chain, and then I add about 28 to 30 inches a leader. What I do is I go from the top of my spinner to my shoulder blade, which is 28.5 to 30 inches, depending on how far I pull it. But that's where I like it, right? This is 40-pound test. This is fluorocarbon, right? And then I've got a spinner behind it, right? Now, I know you guys haven't seen this in the Midwest yet, right? Like, this is kind of a weird deal. So this spinner is built on a 29. You gotta love it when the motorcycle goes by when you're doing that. Well, this is on a 29 gauge wire. 29 to 31 gauge wire, thousandths, is the best wire for that. And what that does is when this blade rolls around this on this brass clevis, you can see the clevis there, it causes a vibration. And so when you have a steel wire and a brass clevis, right, it causes what's called galvanic corrosion. So it creates this weird electronic current. And so I've got a 3.5 Mulkey blade here. This happens to be the Mexican hat. So Mexican hat color is orange, chartreuse, and green, right? Then I've got a bearing bead below that. I've got two 6mm beads. I've got a piece about a 1¼ inch plastic tubing. This is now lengthwise, and it's a 1/8 inch wide, and this is a size 2 treble. And so what this does behind this is this blade is fluttering and it rotates. And like I said, behind this flasher, it causes it to pulsate. And so as we go up here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna troll downhill. We're gonna go up a little ways, we're gonna troll downhill. Generally when we're trolling salmon, we wanna troll downhill. Why? Because salmon face uphill. So it's similar to you going down the freeway. If you go down the wrong direction, you're gonna run into more cars than you would go in the same direction you're going. And so we're gonna do something different here in Sheboygan than they've ever done. We're gonna go uphill, we're gonna troll downhill, and we're gonna come in contact with all these salmon that are facing upward, heading upstream. So something new, something different, something cool, right? And like I say with the Aqua Bait products, when we go up, we're gonna deploy and we're gonna destroy. So on the way down here, you're gonna see some photos here in a little bit, and it's gonna be some fun stuff, right? Stay tuned, folks. Sheboygan salmon fishing coming your way. All right, everybody, so here comes the nuts and bolts parts of this whole thing, right? So we're gonna mix our bait. And so one thing we use a lot back home in the Midwest, or in the West Coast, is tuna fish, right? And one thing I notice a lot about everybody in the Midwest is they don't pay attention as much to scent as we do, right? And so salmon smell in parts per billion. So you guys that are fishing spoons, flasher flies, J plugs and all those things, right? You need to clean your baits. You need to make sure you don't have any foreign scent on them. I'm telling you, this will help you catch more fish. They smell in parts per billion. They smell their way home. This is gonna help you catch more fish. And so I wear rubber gloves all the time, nitro gloves, no scent, no powder, right? And so I've opened this can of tuna, right? I've drained the oil off. So this is chicken and sea tuna and oil. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna dump this in here, right? I'm gonna get this in here. Right, I'm gonna clean this out a little bit with my finger, and you see how you have the nitro gloves on. I got a little bit on the shiny boat here, but so next, so what do we do, right? Because salmons are scent oriented, right? Like this is how they do their daily life. And so I've got some of my good friend Shane Magnuson. This is Northwest Bait and Scent, and this is sand shrimp oil. So what this is ground up sand shrimp with some bite enhancers, some stimulants, and different things in here, right? And so I'm gonna pour about, I don't know, a quarter of a teaspoon or so in this thing, right? Close the lid. This one here is a salmon sauce, and so this is an anise-based sauce. It's got some herring, some tuna, different things in it, right? So I'm gonna add this to it as well. Yeah, I know salmon in the Great Lakes don't have herring, they don't have tuna, they don't have any of this stuff, right? I really don't care. They're salmon, they're from my hatcheries. The salmon that you guys have here in the Great Lakes are from the Lewis River and the Cowlitz River hatcheries, right, which are right by my house, right? So genetically, they're programmed to understand all this stuff, right? And then krill powder. Krill powder is something that every salmon in the ocean where I'm from eats consistently, right? That's where they get that consistent red meat. So you see our fillets back home, and they're very red, very pink. This comes from the krill powder, right? And so I'm gonna add this into this. Yeah, I know, there's no krill in the Great Lakes. That's not what I'm talking about, right? So we're gonna add some of this to it, right? Probably a good chunk right there. Right, and so then what you do is you mix it up. Again, I'm wearing nitro gloves. I don't smoke, I don't do any of those things, right? Like anything you add that's foreign scent to this, suntan lotion, if you're eating a sandwich or whatever, remember, the salmon can smell that, right? And so it's gonna dictate, the bites you have, throughout the day. And so I mix this stuff up, right? I like to mix this up. Now when I'm back home, especially the further I get inland, away from the ocean, I like to add some sea salt to this, because salmon, when they come in from the ocean, and they come into fresh water, what they do is they shed their salt. So they shed all that stuff off. And so as they get further up here, they crave salt. But here, not the same. So I'm not adding any salt to my mixture like I normally would, because they don't crave the salt here, because salmon here never see the salt. So I'm not adding any salt. So I just mix this up. This is very simple, right? Real easy deal, right? And so as you can see, it's all mixed up. So what I'm gonna do next, right? So here's my Spinfish right here. And so I just simply, grab this off my hook hanger. Give me a second here. grab us on my hook here. Now, Spinfish is a super cool lure, right? Because it allows you to add scent to your lure. A lot of your plugs you troll, like J plugs and flasher flies, spoons, different things, you can't add scent to these. Well, I can add scent to this, right? So this Spinfish, what it does is it breaks open right in the middle, just like this. So what I want to do is I want to add enough tuna fish right here. I'm going to pour this through, and so you can see there's a hole in front of this, and so it's like packing a bearing. So when you pack a bearing, you know that it's full when it starts pumping out the other side. Now you see that coming out the side right there? So the top part's full. So I'm going to add the same thing right to the back side of this until it's full. And what I like to do is I like to add enough scent that when I push these two halves together, okay, when I push these two halves together, I'm going to keep this over this so I don't get all over his boat, but I push these two halves together, you can see these scent ports in the bottom, right? There's these holes right here. Okay, so as I add this and I push this together, you're gonna see a bunch of scent flow out of this. Watch. You see that oil juice out right there? That's what these salmon are looking for. So this trolls through the water. It looks like a wounded bait fish. And so back home, it's an anchovy, it's a herring, it may be a sardine, it may be a candlefish. Here, it could be an alewife, a smelt, or whatever these fish are feeding on. So as this thing rotates through the water, it's gonna create that wounded bait fish look. But now, I've got scent added to it, which that's how salmon find their way home. That's how salmon feed. That's how they do a lot of different things, right? So I've pushed this together. This is gonna leach out oil as we troll through the water. And here in a few minutes, I'm gonna show you another video on how we set this whole thing up, how we roll it downstream, and how we put fish in your box.
I'ma take and grab a style. I'ma take and grab a style. No, for real. Ask your grandpa, can I have his hand-me-down? Thank you, Lord. Jumpsuit and some house slippers. Dookie brown leather jacket that I found digging. Had a broken keyboard. I bought a ski blanket. Then I bought a keyboard. Hello, my ace man. Ain't got enough of them, my friends game. Hello. I could take some pro wings, make them cool, sell them, and sneak ahead to be like, oh, he got the Velcro.
All right, so my first Lake Michigan fish on a Spinfish is right here, right? Small jack, but that's great, right? Like, that's where we're starting, that's where we're coming from, right? And so what happened, this fish hit that Spinfish, right? It broke it open, and so the bait kind of fell out. So my good buddy right here, Mr. Jared Kalmerton, got the first one, right? But we're looking for big donkeys. So I'm gonna rebait this Spinfish. We're gonna, what I do, deploy and destroy, and we're gonna continue with this little method here, right? So stay tuned, this is some cool stuff right here, folks. Lake Michigan new stuff coming at you, folks, out of Sheboygan, Wisconsin! Put this one out. Yeah, when they're not supposed to bite, right? Yeah. I'll bring him to it. That's all that I'll do. Spinfish, baby. Yeah. You gotta love this, right? New stuff, Sheboygan, Wisconsin, folks. Come on. Come play the game. Hey, show. Come on, YVC. Woo! Maglips!
So those are 3 bites in about 4 minutes now.
I don't think it's been 4 minutes. I still haven't got this fish taken care of.
Oh, there's a fish right there. That's
Oh yeah, there he is. Hey, fighting one on the Maglip. So we have the 4 that we're running as the Spinfish, and then we run 1 high line off the back of a Maglip just to keep them honest. And this Maglip already caught a smallie, and he's fighting a coal right now on it. Maglip! Maglip! Maglip!
Yeah, any important yellow. 15 fish. Hang on. I'm lifting like a motherfucker. Yeah, dog. Yeah, dog. Go off the hook, just throw him in.
Here with Mr. Jared Kalmerton and Mr. Pat Kalmerton,
wanna
and
get
we're
over
what I do call rolling dirty in the river, right? So we came out today. We did a new technique. All the things I showed you earlier about my sliding weight with the VIP line lock, my 24-inch bumpers, 30-inch leaders to a spinfish with tuna with my good friend Shane Magnuson scent, the Northwest Bait and Scent sand shrimp formula, and the salmon formula. And we put, I think, 7, 8, 9 coes in the box and the king. And we're trolling upriver right now, heading to the launch, trying to get 1 or 2 more fish in the box. But for 4 hours of fishing, that's not too bad. We got about 15, 20 takedowns.
One.
Jesus.
Oh,
Got
wait.
sharp teeth.
One.
I need the eggs. That's a female. That's a terrible idea.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,